right, welcome back to another week of Trader Talk with Trevor. So, let's break it down. Episode 305, All This Murderous Power. So, in the turret, we start off with our traders talking about who they want to murder. And it comes down to Sam, Gabby, and Robin. I didn't think there was any way it was going to be Sam. And by Sam, I mean, of course, Kronk. Thank you, producers, for that one interstitial of him taking a shower. Great. Keep him around a couple more episodes for more of that. Thank you. I was really worried it was going to be Gabby, because Gabby seems like a legitimate threat to do really well in this competition. And then I, remembered kind of after it already happened that she didn't get murdered. Then I remembered that, oh right, Rob kind of has an in with the Bambis, so that explains why he pushed for Robin over Gabby specifically. And I think that I can see a couple reasons why. I don't think he would get pushback on her for any personal reasons from Danielle or Carolyn. So I can see the logic in putting that up. She continues kind of the housewife thing. So that at least looks like it's the same. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I was worried. I was worried for Gabby, and I liked Robin. So I'm sad to see Robin gone. I thought she was wonderful. She was making a lot of wrong guesses, and she was someone that people were gonna eventually try to vote out anyway. But I don't know. I guess Rob is more concerned with having the numbers of the Bambis on his side, and yeah, I didn't really care about that. So I would, if I were Sam though, I think. Yeah, one of the reasons I also saw for why Rob would push for Robin. Oh my God, we've had Rob, Robin, Bob, and Bob. Jesus. Was that at last roundtable, Robin mentioned something about well, I didn't hear any argument that swayed me. So, and Rob wants to be able to sway people. So if Robin isn't responding to what he's putting down, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so now we move into breakfast. And we see Dylan, the lifelong fan of Boston Rob, with his backwards hat, totally fanboying. And this is pretty much the most we see of Dylan until the very end of the episode, which he had 6 confessionals last week, and I don't think he had a single one this week. So I'm going to get back to later why I think that is. But again, if Dylan is a lifelong fan of Boston Rob, wouldn't he know that production wouldn't be able to resist making him a traitor? I don't know. It just seems like he's probably on to Rob, and he's cozying up to him in using the good strategy that Sandra talked about last season of find a traitor you know who's a traitor and get in their good graces. And what is putting that hat on backwards but getting in his good graces? Next, an aside at breakfast, we had the return of the food comments. Danielle, what, no eggs today? And Carolyn asking about pickles. I wonder if it's the two traders who talked about food this time. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. And then also more knock analysis. One thing I think that's interesting is that at the top of this episode, Nikki tells us what her problem is going to be this week. And then she fails to do anything about it, or at least we don't see her do anything about it. So the reason that what she says she needs to do is go around and talk to people and make ins, and it doesn't really work for her. So I think pay attention for what people say at the beginning of the episode, to see how the episode is going to pay off at the end. Other notes I got here: Bob Harper, he had that one really heart touching moment with climbing the hill, but then here he is ragging on Carolyn, saying she always looks disheveled, and then he rags on Tom after breakfast, telling him no more food. So. Yeah. And then after breakfast, oh my God, Danielle. What an episode for Danielle. This is the beginning of her spiral, kind of. I don't get why she thinks she can't trust Carolyn. I suspect that probably she and Bob were already trying to work to get her out. And that's why she's doesn't see her as a viable option. I get that Carolyn's weird, but she made it to the end of Survivor. She's, as Danielle well knows, she's a sharp cookie, and you should listen to her because she has good reads. So, but an interesting thing is that when Ivor was talking about the West theory at breakfast, he was sitting right next to Carolyn, and he just like spills the whole thing right in front of her. So I think that it's a good contrast with how cautious he is talking about it with Rob later. Carolyn is really under people's radars. Like, we see that later with Brittany, saying like, no, I don't think she's capable of it. And like, that's really what you want to be for a traitor. So I don't know. I think that just that level of how she's perceived might be enough to save Carolyn from Danielle's weird spiral here. And we'll get more on Danielle's spiral later. We get a little meeting of the Bambis, who are in this episode dressed in Powerpuff Girl colors. Nikki's in green, Gabby's in blue, and Chriselle is in pink. Also, side note, I love Chriselle's outfit this week. She looks like Glinda, and then she betrays her green friend. So anyway, and then after we move on to Rob and Wes confrontation, and I don't think Wes does a great job getting Rob off his back here. It doesn't really work for me. Now back to the Danielle thing. Danielle checks in with Carolyn. Carolyn shares her notes and tries to be like, hey, Rob is coming up and talking to me about this. And Danielle just totally is like, oh, she's like flexing, and she like they're totally working together. It's like, I don't like Danielle, the reason that you're having trouble working with Carolyn is not that Carolyn is bad at this game. So, like, yeah, and then has she launched into that yet? Okay, no, not yet. Okay, and then we go to the mission, which, Alan, I have 2 points for you. 1, the brain is not a muscle. 2, you look like Jack Frost. And I like the continued trend this season with the way that the missions are really putting like the social pressure into the shield thing. It's really stepped up season after season, working great. And now I think we come to my favorite confessional of the episode, which is Tom Sandoval talking about how he's read a few Dan Brown books and comparing himself to Tom Riddle from Harry Potter. I know the vaguest details about what he did. I don't care. This man is funny. I hope he goes a long way. Bob Harper continues to be terrible at everything and bonks the first question. Derek continues to be self-righteous. Brittany gets a confessional talking about what strategy she's going to use in this mission, and then she doesn't even get to use it at all. So that's another edit thing to pay attention for. And then another Danielle fuck up, where she doesn't put her own portrait on the portrait wall for a shield, and it's like, I don't know. It's just such sloppy gameplay that I don't think that there's any way people don't know she's a traitor. I think that she is going to be one of those ones that gets kind of led to the slaughter at some point. And it's kind of frustrating the way the show does this, where we don't really get to see when people are thinking about that, because there is that artifice level to the whole thing where it's, no, you got to get out the traitors because the traitors are bad. But it's like, no, you want to keep the ones that you know so that you can banish them at the end and not have people get recruited. But like, I don't think I need to talk really about how bad Danielle was at this mission. I think everyone saw it. It was just really bad. And then she goes, and the second time she gets it, she doesn't even put her own one up then. It's just, and I'm glad Dolores called her out. Dolores was onto her before too. Yeah. How many times have people already been onto Danielle? Dolores, Gabby. At the end of the episode, Dylan says that she's his number one, but I think that just goes to the that just goes to the keeping the traitors close thing. So we'll see. Then we get back in the car to head back, and Danielle does it again. And she brings up Carolyn's name. Yeah, I think that I don't know. It just feels like such a stupid way to go about things. Like, you want to get Rob out, so you'll get out Carolyn first. Danielle, when you try to seduce someone to be a traitor, Rob will get input on who you pick. He's not going to let you pick Brittany. He's going to make you pick Wes or Derek. She says in episode 1 that she's trying to play this game 20 steps ahead. Danielle, this game is not even 20 days long. Like, really get yourself together. She talks about this in the car, and then she goes and she tries to talk about it to Brittany, and the entire vibe from Brittany I get is, okay, yeah, buddy, sure. So I don't know if Brittany bought it. That might be Carolyn Copium, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes next week. Yeah, and then we get to Chrishell turning on Nikki. And I love Chrishell, because mostly I love her in a different way than I love Tom, because she's doing the exact opposite. She's playing terribly. She has an ally who she then thinks is a traitor, and then turns on her and feels awful about it afterwards. Like, it makes her look like a stupid faithful, which is a good thing. And I guess Gabby did talk with Nikki about seeming stupid, so it's probably part of the plan. But if it's that, and it's another thing that's being hidden because of the way that the show is edited, oh well. We'll get to hear about it later. Yeah, but and then she goes right to Rob. I'm seeing. They show us the traitors a lot. They're always going to be showing us the traitors, but people keep coming to them this time. People come to Rob a lot, and then at the end we get Dylan coming to Carolyn. So it's, I don't know. I feel like people are maybe trying to suss something out there. We'll see. One last thing before a roundtable. We get a little line from Derek talking about how he thinks this week is going to be an even bigger split vote than last week, and it ends up being unanimous except for Dylan. And that's just not a good look for Derek. Derek has been getting a really good edit most of the time. You get to know what he's thinking, why he's thinking it, what his plans are. But then this was a clip that they really didn't need to put in, that made him look where he was shown being wrong. Yeah. Okay, and then we go to the roundtable, and we get Ivor filling the shoes of John Burkrow from last season, starting us off, saying the names. Sierra, Nikki, and Rob. I liked Rob's defense here, but I don't think it matters. I think Rob is cooked. His name's been said too many times. I think Dylan's onto him. I think that that he wanted to come into the turret, get some traitors out, and then recruit one of the other Cage Boys, because there's no way that a Cage Boy can win without having another Cage Boy banished as a traitor first. But I don't know if I'd let any of them in to the final at this point. Sam speaks. We get word from Kronk that is stupid words, but correct words, but stupid. That if after all of this good gameplay from Rob, if he's still here next week, we're coming after you. It doesn't look like that's happening based on the preview, but if Rob was willing to turn on Bob for one comment that didn't even say his name, poor Sam, his days are numbered. Yeah, and then it just comes back down to Sierra and Nikki again, the Coffin Girls. We got the Cage Boys and the Coffin Girls. So the Coffin Girls are at it again. Sierra's too much of a potty mouth, loudmouth, and Nikki is too quiet. This is just classic. This is just classic early banishment stuff where it's you were too quiet, you were too loud, and it doesn't really tell us anything. The thing I think it is most interesting about is what Gabby and Chrishell were trying with this. Because it doesn't really make sense to actually kick Nikki out if you think she's a traitor. Maybe what they're trying to do is they say that they have this alliance and then they let it get quashed early on so that people feel like they've dealt with it. Maybe they're trying to make themselves look like stupid faithfuls because stupid faithfuls are the ones you bring to the end, and stupid faithfuls are the ones that you might want to recruit. So we'll see. But I love how broken up by it everyone is. I think it's, it's fun, low stakes tears, and I'm here for it. And then we come to Dylan and Carolyn, and Dylan says that Danielle is his number one. I had not gotten that impression. I saw Dylan close with other people. I thought I saw him close with Dolores before, but that might have just been something. I definitely haven't seen him and Danielle interact outside of that one time in the hidden book room. So if she's his number one, that's news to me. But I think it's interesting that if she's his number one, he would come to Carolyn and immediately tell her. So I think Dylan might be on to all three and I think Dylan's definitely on to Rob. I think he's definitely on to Danielle. And I think that coming to Carolyn this time was him trying to feel out the waters with her and see how she reacted. Like, does she get angry? Like, trying to gauge if she has a faithful response or a traitor response. But the thing is, it's Carolyn. You don't really know how she's going to respond. So I think that, I don't know. I am still coping that we get to see Carolyn live past next week. Based on the outfits remaining for people, I'm not so sure. But unless it bounces back to someone else, I don't know. We'll see. I really hope that that it's not Carolyn next week. That would suck. Yeah, let's see. Any other stray thoughts? Oh yeah. I guess at the end I'll talk about who I think is going far and who I think is not going far, who is dunzo. Well, I guess it's just like not a threat to win. Let's see. Who I think will go far. I think Gabby has a lot of potential to go far still. She got a lot of good talk this episode. She gets a lot of good confessionals. I love Gabby. I think she's hilarious. And I think she's going to be here a long time. We get a lot of focus on her. I think that Brittany will be here a long time. We see a lot about her. Well, we don't see a lot about her. We see a lot from her, or we see she has had a few little bits of commentary, little bits of narration, which apparently is like what she's known for on Big Brother. So that's not that surprising. But it reminds me a little bit of Sandra's edit last season. And Sandra ended up going far. I think, well, obviously Dylan is, we didn't see any Dylan this week. We didn't see any of him. And this was a interesting week to not see anything. I get he had a big week last week, but, we saw him at the end and we saw him at the beginning, but we didn't see him in the middle of the episode. They hid him from us. I just think that that's interesting. And then I think Wes and Derek still are going far. Just because, they're going to, if they go out of the show, it will be because they get murdered. But Rob doesn't want to murder them because he needs them to get banished as a traitor. So there's a little bit of a rub there. Let's see. Yeah. those are the ones. I think Tom might also go far. He might. I think he's our Kevin. He's our Kevin this season, where he is comic relief and not to be taken seriously. But I think that he'll stick around for a while still. But he's not a threat to win. I think of the faithful right now, there are 6 really worth paying attention to, and it's I'll say 5. 5 really worth paying attention to, and it's Dylan, Gabby, Brittany, Wes, and Derek. I think that those are our 5 most important faithful. Whose goose is cooked? Sierra's goose is cooked. Ivor's goose is cooked. Sam's goose is cooked. Bob's goose is cooked. Like, they keep showing Bob rag on Carolyn, and they have edited Carolyn to be so lovable that absolutely no way. And Rob's goose is cooked. He's had too much heat on him for too long. I think he'll be around for a little bit longer. I don't think that he's on like borrowed time or anything, but I think that he has no chance of winning. He will be banished as a traitor at some point. Danielle will be banished as a traitor at some point. It might be at Final Fire. I hope not, because she is really demonstrably not good at this game. But yeah, Danielle has no chance to win. And then it comes down to Carolyn. Carolyn. There are a couple of... This was a mixed bag of a week for her, because obviously Danielle seems to think that she needs to get Carolyn out first, which is it's just so stupid. Like, you need an ally against Rob. Carolyn wanted to go against Rob. I don't get why she thinks that she can't work with her. It is very frustrating to watch. But the other thing is, Carolyn this week connected with Dylan, and she had said that she was looking for people to work with. And if she gets in with Dylan, Dylan's already in with Rob. Rob will back up and affirm that idea. Now, this could all be Dylan's plan. And if it is, props to him. Amazing gameplay. But so that's where my hope for Carolyn lies, is that in that one Dylan conversation, I think that she has potential. I think that Brittany didn't buy Danielle talking her game to her, talking about Carolyn. And I think that the way in which Danielle has been talking about Carolyn is not you are 100% a traitor, like we saw from Dan and we saw from Rob. So I don't think that it's necessarily going to have that same traitor on traitor violence bounce back, but it might. We're really going to have to see how next week's episode goes. In the preview, it shows Carolyn saying, "I want to murder the two of you," in the turret, and that is a misleading edit. I bet you $100, 100 imaginary bucks, because we saw this last season where they implied a Parvati and Phaedra kerfuffle in the turret, and it wound down instantly after the part we saw in the preview was over. So I bet it's Carolyn going to be like, "I feel like murdering the two of you because you won't listen to me." And then they'll like acquiesce and give Carolyn who she wants. But I don't think it's going to work out. I mean, obviously it doesn't work out super well, because we see Carolyn accusing Danielle at the round table of causing chaos. And I do like that is the angle that she's going for. That has been an angle that people respond to. And I think that it is one that does not paint Carolyn as a traitor for making it. The chaos causing argument, it harkens back to season 1, which is its own special mess. But I think that is a known way of a traitor operating, is, try to get the heat on someone random. And it's not the same as the more as the classic, like Rob on Bob, Dan and Phaedra thing. So I don't know. We'll see. I have hope yet for Carolyn, but it's shakier. But the good part is that, the faithfuls that we have left, aside from Derek, are all pretty rootable, root forable. Not yeah. Like, I don't think I've met anyone or seen anyone who has been put off by Dylan. I think everyone is enjoying Gabby. Like, we've got some good faithfuls this season, and so I'm excited to see how it goes. All right, so thank you very much, and I will see you next week.